Good day, 7STE. Today, we will begin discussing Quarter 4 topics and we will start with Quarter 4, Module 1, Energy Resources in the Philippines. Objectives: describe the energy resources in the Philippines. At the end of this module, you are expected to 1. Identify energy resources in the Philippines. 2. Classify the energy resources as renewable or non-renewable. 3. Give the beneficial and harmful effects of energy resources in the ecological system. And 4. Value the importance of energy resources in the Philippines. What I know. Choose the letter of the best answer. Write the letter of your choice on your answer sheet. See pages 2 to 3 of Quarter 4, Module 1. What's in? In your previous lesson, you have learned about different environmental problems and issues. Let us see if you still recall what you have learned. Directions: identify the environmental problem described in each number. Choose your answer from the box below. So our choices for this activity are climate change, earthquake, volcanic eruption, pollution, typhoon, and landslide. Let us answer what's in. Number 1. It is the undesirable change in the physical, chemical, and biological conditions of the environment. Answer: pollution. 2. It is the long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, or global climate. Answer: climate change. 3. This is a low-pressure storm with winds swirling around the center. Answer: typhoon. Number 4. It is the shaking of the surface of the Earth resulting from a sudden release of energy in the Earth's lithosphere that creates seismic waves. Answer: earthquake. Number 5. The lava and gas discharge from a volcanic vent due to pressure buildup within a volcano. Answer: volcanic eruption. What's new? Did you know that in Ilocos Province, giant windmills are used to generate electricity? In Bangi, Ilocos Norte, the windmills as high as 50 meters not only help improve the tourism in Ilocos, but it also provides 40% of the energy requirements for electricity in the entire province. In this module, we are going to learn about the different energy resources available in the Philippines. For us to be acquainted with the different energy resources in the Philippines, let us do this activity. Study the pictures below, supply the missing letters to complete the scientific terminologies that are related to energy resources. Number 1. The power of water in motion. 2. Energy from the sun. 3. Heat energy from the earth. Number 4. Energy from the wind. Number 5. Plant or animal material used as fuel to produce electricity or heat. Number 6. This is energy in the nucleus or core of an atom. Number 7. A naturally occurring hydrocarbon gas mixture consisting primarily of methane. Number 8. This is a black or brownish-black solid rock that can be burned. Number 9. This is a naturally occurring petroleum product composed of hydrocarbon deposits and other organic materials. And number 10. They were formed from the fossilized, buried remains of plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. Because of their origins, they have a very high carbon content. What is it? Let us now discuss the different energy resources in the Philippines. Energy is abundant and is all around us. The Philippines, as a tropical land, has the potential to produce a great deal of energy from natural resources. The existence of volcanoes and its geological conditions also explain why we are rich in energy resources. The Philippines is near the equator, which makes solar energy readily available for the country. The Philippines is also located in the Pacific Ring of Fire and thus has a high geothermal potential. There are two types of natural resources, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources are natural resources that can be replaced or replenished in a short period of time. Non-renewable resources are natural resources that cannot be replaced or replenished easily. It will take thousands or millions of years to replace it. Resources are characterized as renewable and non-renewable. A renewable resource can replenish itself at the rate it is used, while a non-renewable resource has a limited supply. So some examples of renewable energy are solar, hydropower, biomass, geothermal, and wind. For non-renewable, we have oil, coal, natural gas, and nuclear. The Philippines has been generating energy from renewable sources for a long while now. It has only been in recent history that more and more Filipino are recognizing the benefit of renewable energies as an alternative to oil and carbon. A renewable resource, also known as a flow resource, is a natural resource which will replenish to replace the portion depleted by usage and consumption, either through natural reproduction or other recurring processes in a finite amount of time in a human timescale. So as mentioned in the previous slide, these are the different types of renewable energies. So we have biomass, hydropower, solar, wind, and geothermal. Listed below are the renewable energies found in the Philippines, as well as the geographic location of the power plants where they can be found. Hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric energy, also called hydroelectric power or hydroelectricity, is a form of energy that harnesses the power of water in motion to generate electricity. Most hydroelectric power plants have a reservoir of water, a gate or valve to control how much water flows out of the reservoir, and an outlet or a place where the water ends up after flowing downward. Water gains potential energy just before it spills over the top of a dam or flows down a hill. The potential energy is converted into kinetic energy as water flows downhill. The water can be used to turn the blades of a turbine to generate electricity, which is distributed to the power plant's customers. The Philippines makes use of two ways to harness water power: dam storage or poundage and run-of river. Whereas poundage makes use of artificial dams in order to store water, run-of river depends on flowing bodies of water like waterfalls. The illustration on the left is an example of dam storage or poundage, and the picture on the right is an example of run-of river. So let us differentiate the two. In an impoundment facility, a dam is used to control the flow of water stored in a pool or reservoir. When more energy is needed, water is released from the dam. Once water is released, gravity takes over and the water flows downward through a turbine. As the blades of the turbine spin, they generate electricity. Another type of hydroelectric energy plant is a diversion facility. This type of plant is unique because it does not use a dam. Instead, it uses a series of canals, such as this one in the picture, to channel flowing river water toward the generator powering turbines. Hydroelectric power plants in the Philippines are found in Pangasinan, Benguet, Laguna, Isabela, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Ilocos Sur, Bohol, Lanao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, Bukidnon, Davao del Sur, and Misamis Oriental. This picture on the right is the Maria Cristina Falls. The Maria Cristina Falls powers the Agos 6 hydroelectric plant, one of the several hydroelectric plants that harness Agos River. The power plant has a 200 megawatt potential capacity supplied by a water flow of about 130 cubic meters per second. Here are the advantages and disadvantages of hydroelectric power. Let us start with the advantages. Number 1, it makes use of available resources, no need to burn fuel. 2, it does not produce pollutants. 3, it is more reliable than wind or solar. 4, electricity can be generated constantly. 5. Water can be stored above the dam ready to cope with peaks in demand. Now, for the disadvantages, we have number 1, dams are very expensive to build. 2. Finding suitable site to build dams is difficult. 3. It can cause flooding in many areas. And number 4, summer drought affect water level in dams which may not be enough to generate energy. The next energy resource that we will discuss is geothermal power. Geothermal energy is heat within the earth. The word geothermal comes from the Greek words geo, which means earth, and therme, which means heat. Geothermal energy is a renewable energy source because heat is continuously produced inside the earth. So geothermal energy is the heat produced deep in the earth's core. Geothermal energy is clean, it's renewable, and it can be harnessed for use as heat and electricity. Geothermal power plants in the Philippines are found in Laguna, Sorsogon, Albay, Batangas, Negros Occidental, Leyte, and North Cotabato. Since 2015, the 3 countries with the greatest capacity for geothermal energy use have included the United States, Indonesia, and the Philippines. There are 2 ways of extracting geothermal energy utilized in the Philippines. First, we have flash steam, and the second is the binary cycle. So let us differentiate these 2. The islands of the Philippines sit over a tectonically active area, the Ring of Fire, that trims the Pacific Ocean. Government and industry in the Philippines have invested in flash steam power plants, and today, the nation is second only to the United States in its use of geothermal energy. In fact, the largest geothermal power plant is a flash steam facility in Malitbog, Leyte, Philippines. A flash steam power plant uses naturally occurring sources of underground hot water and steam. Water that is hotter than 182 degrees Celsius is pumped into a low-pressure area. Some of the water flashes or evaporates rapidly into steam and is funneled out to power a turbine and generate electricity. Any remaining water can be flashed in a separate tank to extract more energy. So in this picture, hot water from underground is pumped into a cooler temperature flash tank. The sudden change in temperature creates a steam which powers the generator. As steam is introduced, the turbine rotates, the turbine is connected to a generator, and the generator generates electricity. Binary cycle power plants use a unique process to conserve water and generate heat. Water is heated underground to about 107 to 182 degrees Celsius. The hot water is contained in a pipe which cycles above ground. The hot water heats a liquid organic compound that has a lower boiling point than water. The organic liquid creates steam, which flows through a turbine and powers a generator to generate electricity. The only emission in this process is steam. The water in the pipe is recycled back to the ground to be reheated by the earth and provide heat for the organic compound again. So to illustrate the binary cycle power plant, hot water is passed through a heat exchanger. It heats a second liquid, isobutane, in a closed loop. The isobutane boils at a lower temperature and its steam runs the turbine. So as steam is introduced, the turbine spins. The turbine is connected to a generator and the generator generates electricity. Binary cycle power plants are closed-loop systems and virtually nothing except water vapor is emitted to the atmosphere. Here are the advantages of geothermal power. Number 1, this energy source is more environmentally friendly than conventional fuel sources. 2, a source of renewable energy. 3, a sustainable source of energy as it's always available unlike wind and solar. 4, no fuel is required. 5, pollution levels are much lower compared to fossil fuels. The disadvantages of using geothermal power are the following. 1, the largest single disadvantage of geothermal energy is that it is location specific. 2, gases are released into the atmosphere during digging. 3, geothermal energy runs the risk of triggering earthquakes. 4, expensive resource to tap into with high upfront cost ranging from about $2 to $7 million for a plant with a 1 megawatt capacity. Energy fluid needs to be pumped back into the underground reservoirs faster than it is depleted. Management is required to maintain sustainability. The next energy resource on our list is solar power. Solar energy is used as a source of energy in the Philippines through industrial-sized photovoltaic plants within the country. The Philippines has recently incorporated large-scale solar farms since the country is geographically situated in a very region that receives a high quantity of daylight annually. Major solar farms within the Philippines are found in Batangas, Cavite, Pampanga, Ilocos Norte, and Cagayan de Oro. Solar power is usable energy generated from the sun in the form of electric or thermal energy. Solar energy is captured in a variety of ways, the most common of which is with photovoltaic solar panels that convert the sun's rays into usable electricity. So, the Calatagan Solar Farm, near the foot of Mount San Piro in Calatagan, Batangas, has earned the distinction of being the largest solar facility completed in the Philippines to date. So, it spans 160 hectares. So, this is the Calatagan Solar Farm. The advantages of using solar power are, number 1, solar energy is free, no need to burn fuel. 2, it is non-polluting or does not cause pollution. 3, in tropical countries, solar power can be used to provide electricity in remote places. The disadvantages of solar power are, number 1, it does not work at night unless the energy is saved or stored in batteries. 2, solar cells are very expensive. And 3, it can be unreliable unless you live somewhere sunny. Anything that moves has kinetic energy, and scientists and engineers are using the wind's kinetic energy to generate electricity. Wind energy or wind power is created using a wind turbine, such as the one in the picture below, a device that channels the power of the wind to generate electricity. The wind blows the blades of the turbine, which are attached to a rotor. The rotor then spins a generator to create electricity. So like water, moving air generates energy through wind turbines that provide mechanical energy through mechanical power. The turbines then power a generator to supply electrical energy. Wind energy power plants in the Philippines are found in Ilocos Norte, Rizal, Guimaras, and Aklan. Burgos Wind Farm is a wind farm in Burgos, Ilocos Norte, Philippines. It is the second wind farm built in the province of Ilocos Norte and the largest project of its kind in the Philippines. The estimated cost for the construction of the wind farm was 450 million US dollars. The advantages of using wind energy are the following. 1. Like solar energy, no need to burn fuel. 2. It produces no waste or pollution. 3. Wind farms may also serve as tourist destinations. 4. The land beneath can usually still be used in farming. 5. It can generate electricity for 24 hours for as long as there is enough wind. The disadvantages of using wind energy are the following. 1. It is weather dependent. Wind may not always be available. 2. Building a wind farm is expensive. 3. It can kill birds if hit by the spinning blades. 4. It can affect television reception if you live nearby. 5. It causes noise pollution. And 6. A large space in coastal areas are needed to accommodate windmills. Next, we have biomass or energy from organic materials. Biomass is plant or animal material used as fuel to produce electricity or heat. Biomass could be a matter typically thought of as garbage. It includes dead trees, leftover crops, wood chips, bark, sawdust, rubbish, cornstalk, and even animal manure. Biomass energy is comparable to fuel in a way that it's combusted to boil water to supply steam which will drive a generator. So, some examples of biomass are wood, crops, garbage, landfill gas, and alcohol fuels. The Philippines has large and abundant supplies of biomass resources, including agricultural crop residues, forest residues, animal waste, agro-industrial waste, municipal solid waste, and aquatic biomass. The most common agricultural wastes are rice hull, bagasse, coconut shell husk, and coconut coir. Being an agricultural country, the Philippines made natural resources like pulp, rice husks, and coconut husks into fuel. Biomass power plants in the Philippines are found in Negros Occidental, Bataan, Iloilo, Bukidnon, Cagayan, Misamis Oriental, Batangas, Isabela, Nueva Ecija, Rizal, Laguna, and Panay. The advantages of using biomass are, number 1, it makes sense to use waste materials when we can. 2, the fuel tends to be cheap. The disadvantages of using biomass are, burning of waste produces greenhouse gases, and 2, collecting the waste in sufficient quantities can be difficult. Let us now proceed with the different non-renewable energy resources in the Philippines. First are fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are made from decomposing plants and animals. A fossil fuel is a fuel formed by natural processes such as anaerobic decomposition of buried dead organisms containing organic molecules, originating in ancient photosynthesis that release energy in combustion. These fuels are found in the Earth's crust and contain carbon and hydrogen which can be burned for energy. Examples of fossil fuels are natural gas, petroleum, and coal. Fossil fuels are organic remains of plants and animals that died millions of years ago. It is assumed that fossil fuels were buried about 300 million years past during the Carboniferous period. So this was how petroleum and natural gas was formed. So tiny sea plants and animals died and were buried on the ocean floor. Over time, they were covered by layers of sand and silt. Over millions of years, the remains were buried deeper and deeper. The enormous heat and pressure turned them into oil and gas. Today, we drill down through layers of sand, silt, and rock to reach the rock formations that contain oil and gas deposits. Now, how was coal formed? Let's take a look. Before the dinosaurs, many giant plants died in swamps. Over millions of years, the plants were buried under water and dirt. Heat and pressure turned the dead plants into coal. Fossil fuels may be of three kinds. We have coal, crude oil, and natural gas. Let us first discuss about coal. So coal is called a fossil fuel because it was made from plants that were once alive. Since coal comes from plants and plants get their energy from the sun, the energy in coal also came from the sun. The coal we use today took millions of years to form. That is why coal is called non-renewable. So coal is a black or brownish black solid rock that can be burned. It contains about 40% non-combustible components, thus a source of air pollution when used as fuel. Coal deposits are scattered over the Philippines. About 25% is located in the Cagayan Valley in northeastern Luzon, while 13% is located in Mindanao. The remaining 10% is scattered in the islands of Cebu, Samar, Mindoro, Negros, Polillo, and Catanduanes. The largest deposit is found in Semirara Island in Antique. Coal mines are also settled in Cebu, Zamboanga, Sibugay, Albay, Surigao, and Negros provinces. The next fossil fuel is crude oil. Crude oil or petroleum is mainly composed of hydrocarbons which were formed more than 300 millions of years ago. This thick black oil must be changed or refined before it can be used. This can be done through fractional distillation. This method separates the crude oil into its components because of its differences in boiling points. So, crude oil is separated by fractional distillation. Crude oil is heated to vaporize the different hydrocarbons in a tank which is cool at the top and hot at the bottom. The vapors then rise and the different hydrocarbons condense at their specific boiling points, allowing them to be separated. The third example of fossil fuel is natural gas. Natural gas is mostly made up of methane, or CH4, a highly flammable gas. It is usually found near petroleum underground. It is pumped up from the bottom and travels in a pipeline and storage tanks. It is mixed with chemical to give it a rotten egg smell. This odor makes it easy to detect if there is a leak. So why is this done? Because natural gas is odorless. So natural gas is a fuel to provide power to factories or even households. So one way of extracting natural gas is by hydraulic fracturing or fracking. So in fracking, drilling starts with a generated micro-earthquake, okay, with high-pressure streams of sand, water, and chemicals. It breaks up the formation of rocks. After that, natural gas can flow up to gathering gas pipelines and wells on the surface. Natural gas in the Philippines are located offshore above the country's deep sea oil reserves. The Philippines possesses 3.9 cubic feet of natural gas reserves. Although extraction began only in the year 2000, production has been able to meet demand every year without imports. Even larger natural gas deposits may be held in another offshore location. Our natural gas deposits are found offshore of Palawan. The Malampaya Deepwater Gas-to-Power project employs state-of-the-art deepwater technology to draw natural gas from deep beneath Philippine waters. The gas fuels natural gas-fired power stations to provide 40 to 45% of Luzon's power generation requirements. The Malampaya Deepwater Gas-to-Power project utilizes state-of-the-art technology to extract natural gas and condensate from the depths of the Palawan Basin. It then processes the gas in a nearby shallow water production platform and transports it across 3 provinces through a 504-kilometer underwater pipeline. An onshore gas plant in Batangas receives the gas for further processing before it is sent to 5 power plant customers. So this is the Malampaya Power Plant found offshore in Palawan. This map shows the Malampaya pipeline route. So this is the Malampaya Power Plant. And then the red line is the pipeline. So it travels from the Malampaya Power Plant going to Batangas. The Department of Energy reports that since October 2001, the Philippines has been importing less petroleum for electricity generation, providing the country foreign exchange savings and energy security from this clean fuel. The advantages of using fossil fuels are, number 1, transport of oil and gas to power plant is easy. 2, generated coal, a cheap source, can generate very large amount of electricity. 3, gas-fired power stations are very efficient. The disadvantages of using fossil fuels are, number 1, it has a limited supply and take millions of years to form. 2, burning fossil fuels causes pollution. 3, burning produces carbon dioxide which contributes to greenhouse effect. And 4, it also produces sulfur dioxide which contributes to acid rain. Another non-renewable energy resource is nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is generated using radioactive elements such as uranium and plutonium. The process starts when atoms are loaded into very long rods and are placed in reactors. Reactors splits atom apart, generating huge amounts of energy. Water is pumped through the reactor to absorb the heat. The water is then converted to steam, which is responsible for turning turbines, and this produces electricity. So, in a nuclear energy plant, heat is produced from splitting atoms, a process called nuclear fission. So, a nuclear reactor creates heat that is used to make steam. The steam turns a turbine connected to an electromagnet called a generator. The generator generates electricity. Here are the advantages of using nuclear energy. 1. It is a reliable source. 2. It is not expensive, just like coal. 3. It does not contribute to greenhouse effect. 4. It does not produce smoke or carbon dioxide. 5. It produces huge amount of energy from small amount of fuel. 6. It produces small components of waste. And 7. It contains small amounts of radioactive material that can provide energy for years. Now, here are the disadvantages of using nuclear energy. 1. Radioactive wastes are difficult to dispose and manage. 2. Though reliable, it is expensive to build and a safety hazard. And number 3, Waste must be sealed and buried for many thousands of years to allow radioactivity to die away. There are talks on reviving the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Senate Bill 2729 and House Bill 4631 were passed in response to this action. However, a lot of demonstrations led by a group known to Bnpp revival and even prayer rallies have been conducted to oppose it. These are some reasons why they oppose it. Number 1, it is obsolete, and so it is unsafe to operate. 2, it is located within a volcano, Mount Natib, with recorded seismic activity. And 3, it does not ensure cheaper electricity bill. The Bataan Nuclear Power Plant or BNPP is an interesting case study of nuclear energy. Completed back in 1980s and costing 2.2 billion US dollars, the BNPP currently stands in Morong Bataan atop Napot Point that overlooks the West Philippine Sea. However, it never achieved its goal of generating 623 megawatts of electricity. The BNPP is currently the only nuclear power plant in the Philippines and more interestingly was still the only nuclear power plant in the ASEAN as of 2014. Nuclear energy first came to the forefront of Philippine politics back in the 1950s when the US gave the Philippines a nuclear fission reactor. The government then formally established a nuclear program in 1958 under the Philippine Atomic Energy Commission. The BNPP was then proposed in the 1960s and approved under the Marcos regime in July of 1973. The final contract was given to Westinghouse Electric. The project was completed in 1984. What's more, independent activity 1, renewable or non-renewable. Write R if the given source is renewable and NR if it is non-renewable on the space provided before each number. Next, independent assessment 1. Can you check this out? Read and analyze the following sentences. Draw a happy face if the statement is an advantage of using hydroelectric power and a sad face if it is a disadvantage. Independent activity 2, crossword puzzle. Read the clues below and fill in the crossword puzzle with the correct answer. Independent assessment 2, where does it get its energy? Read the situations given below and then tell what energy source is being used in each item. Choose your answer from the box. So the choices for independent assessment 2 are wind, biomass, geothermal, natural gas, and solar. Independent activity 3, advantage or disadvantage. Identify whether the statement below is an advantage or disadvantage of the given energy resource. Write the letter of your answer inside the appropriate box to complete the table. So in the first column, we have energy resources, biomass, solar energy, and coal. Second column, advantage. Third column, disadvantage. So place the statements in their appropriate columns. Independent assessment 3, identify me. Read the item carefully. Identify the word being described in each statement. What I have learned. Complete the paragraph below by supplying the missing information you have learned. So I have learned that the Philippines is rich in, the two main types are, the difference between the two are, renewable resources include, non-renewable resources include, the advantages of renewable energy resources are, the disadvantages of non-renewable energy resources are, energy resources are very important to our lives because, what I can do. In your answer sheet, paste 2 pictures of energy resources available in your locality or municipality. Describe how energy is being generated from these resources and explain why you think it is important to your community. So you may follow this format. Assessment. Match the description in column A with the terminologies in column B. See page 14 of Quarter 4, Module 1. Additional activity. Performance task number 4.1. Build a wind-powered car. Objective. Design and build a toy car powered by the wind. Experience using wind energy by performing the activity below. Materials needed: corrugated cardboard, construction paper or cardstock, 3 wooden skewers or stick, 2 plastic straws, 4 plastic bottle caps, tape, scissors, and cutter. Preparations. Number 1. Carefully cut out a piece of cardboard to form the body of your car. 2. Tape 2 straws across the bottom of your car, 1 at each end. Make sure the straws are parallel. 3. Have an adult use the cutter or scissors to carefully poke a plus sign shaped hole in the center of each bottle cap. 4. Push a wooden skewer through the hole in one of the bottle caps. Thread the other end of the skewer through one of the straws. 5. Push the bottle cap onto the end of the skewer opposite the first bottle cap. You just made an axle with 2 wheels for your car. 7. Repeat these steps to make the other axle. 8. Make sure the axles can spin and the car can roll smoothly without getting stuck. If needed, adjust the wheels so they are not too wobbly. 9. Have an adult use the hobby knife to carefully poke a small hole in the middle of the cardboard. 10. Insert a wooden skewer upright into the hole to form a mast for your car's sail. Secure it at the base with plenty of tape. If it is still too wobbly, you can build a diagonal support out of a piece of cardboard. Note: make at least 3 sails that are all the same shape but different sizes. For example, for rectangular sails, you could use a whole sheet of paper, a half sheet of paper, and a 1/4 sheet of paper. Procedure. Number 1. Poke the upright skewer through both ends of your smallest sail to hold it in place. 2. Place your fan on the floor at one end of the long hallway or large room. 3. Place your car in front of the fan and turn the fan on. Question number 1. How far does your car go before it stops? Number 4. Replace the smallest sail with your next biggest sail and try again. Question 2. How far does your car go this time? Number 5. Try with your largest sail. Question 3. Does the car go as far as you expected? Extra procedure. Try sails that are different shapes. Question 4. What shape works the best? Extra procedure. If you have a variable speed fan, try the activity on different fan settings. So you could try the fan at number 1, number 2, and number 3. Question 5. How does the fan speed affect how far or how fast your car goes? Environmental Science Quarter 4 Module 1, Energy Resources in the Philippines. So on your answer sheet, you need to have what I know, what's more, answer independent activities 1, 2, 3, independent assessments 1, 2, 3. What I have learned, what I can do, assessment, and the additional activity. The additional activity will be your performance task number 4.1. If you are done answering Quarter 4 Module 1, upload your answer sheets in your Google Drive folder. The path is Environmental Science, Quarter 4 Module 1. Thank you for attending our Environmental Science online class. God bless you all.